Right, so in the previous video we have created this footer component, and I think we have almost done with home page design. So if you go to the Apple's website, you can see uh, somewhat similar website we have been created. So depending on the time you are watching this video, the original website content may differ, but yeah, we have covered a lot of contents. So if I summarize what we have done so far, basically we have created this component based architecture. So all of our pages will be containing these components, which means we don't need to redefine these similar sort of stuff in the other pages, right? So pages contain multiple components, and the component itself, it's a independent item that consists of all the necessary uh, stylings and other necessary data. So whenever we require to use a component, what we need to do is just import that component and pass the necessary data through it. Then it will render the entire page. Right, so I think now we have done almost all the stuff in the page design. So now let's move to the input and input data validations in the front end. So basically in any website there is a login page. So when it comes to Apple's web store, they have this sort of a login page where you have to enter your Apple ID, and by simply just pressing enter, it will redirect back to the authentication page, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a similar sort of a front end data input and validation page, but obviously we don't be able to redirect to a specific page, such as after doing those user authentication and authorization stuff, because then we require sort of a backend functionalities. So in such cases we can use Express or Spring Boot or sort of like that, sort of a backend framework like that. But in this series I'm just focusing on the React, the front end stuff. So I will just create the necessary front end authentication related components. Right, so first we need to create a button called maybe login or something like that. So I will add that button in the header. So let's make it as let's say login. Right, so once I click login, I will be redirected to the login page. So the URL must be maybe let's say login. Right, so now if I click this login link, it will go to the login page, but currently we don't have a login page, therefore it will just show this blank web page. So what we can do is we can create another page called let's say login. So login.js and RFC, and we can go to the routes, or no, maybe let's say we can go to the app and we can import that component, page component. Then we can make a route. So simply the path is login and the component is login. So now if I click this link, it will go back to this page. Okay, so in this page we also require this sort of a header and this sort of a footer component and the content the body content will be different. So now we don't need to redeclare these header stylings or footer stylings. What we can do is simply reuse those components in this page. Okay, so if I go to the login page and close others, and let me open the home page as well. So you can see what sort of components we have to input. So first thing we have to input is standard layout. So I will simply standard layout, and this is standard layout. It will contain all the necessary headers and footers. Okay, I think it doesn't contain a footer because in the home page we have that footer. So what I can do is basically remove this footer from here, and we can go to the standard layout component. We can paste that footer over here, and of course I need to import it as well. Import footer from footer. Okay, right now that footer component has been included like this. Then you can see those two components are there, but the body content is somewhat strict, right? Because there is no proper space. So what we can do is make this body as a separate division and assign a screen size as its default height. So I will make a separate div. Okay, so it must be div. Then the side components goes like this, and I can assign with as let's say screen. So it is screen. Right, now you can see we have a sort of proper body content space, right? And I think this navigation bar should be fixed. So what I can do is go to this nav bar and make this as fixed, so it won't go below, but yeah, I think because of these stylings it's not working correctly. Okay, so now fixed has been applied and the width must be full. Okay, now if I go to the home page again, let's go to home page. Now you can see that header is fixed. Then when we are scrolling, it won't be hidden. But you can see now the footer has been somewhat not in the correct position. So let's see how to fix that as well. Yeah, I think standard layout. Yeah, I think let's say h full. Okay, now the footer is at the bottom. If I go to the login page, okay, now we have that footer at the top. Okay, so what we can do is basically, instead of doing the changes over here, we can do the changes at the login page, right? So I will put a division like this, and make this as H screen, and inside that login will be there. Okay, now we have that footer. Okay, let's go back to the home page. Okay, now you can see the content is somewhat hidden at the top side because we have made this navigation bar as a fixed component. Therefore, we must assign a fixed padding space for the body content as well. So go to the standard layout, and inside that division, let's make PT as maybe let's say 100 pixel. Okay, now it seems quite okay, but let's make it as maybe 60 px. Okay, now I think all the stylings are done. Okay, so now we can create a login page like this. So let's go to the home page again, and we have this uh, padding as a standard padding. So go to the login page and add this padding. Okay, now you can create sort of a sign-in form like this, but here they are only taking the Apple ID. But for now, I will just create a standard login form where it contains email and password. Okay, so now we can start the designing. So first I will make another div. So this div contain the p tag. So let's say sign in, and let's say please enter your credentials. Then we need another div. So inside this div maybe we have input. So input type is basically text, right? So that input is there. Likewise, we need another input, but I think this input is sort of a component that is reusing in several places. But first I will just make it as a plain structure, then I will modularize it. So inside this text, let's add some sort of a placeholder. Let's say email. Okay? Let's say enter your email, and yeah, let's add sort of stylings as well. So let's say I will add a border, and I will add a sort of a padding, and yeah, so this border I will give a separate color, let's say gray 500 or maybe 400, and let's say border 2. I think it's too much, maybe 300. Okay, then we have sort of rounded corners, so I will make it as rounded MD, and yeah, now the input is working. Okay, then we can add sort of a label as well. So your stylings may be differ than mine, but it's quite okay. I just wanted to showcase you how this stuff are really happening. So let's say email, and I need sort of error handling text as well. So I will make it as error. Okay, so yeah, so I will make this error text as text red 700 with text the same and font semi-bold. So let's make it as this, or it is text, and let's make it as bold. Okay, then we need this stuff in a uh, flex, maybe flex row with the gap of 3 maybe. Okay, maybe let's make it as flex all. Then we have sort of a area. I'll make that gap of 1, and let's make this label maybe text gray 500, or maybe let's say 600, and text sm and font semi-bold. Right, so now this is our input component, right? So what we can do is we can make a similar sort of a input component for the password, but what we can do is make this entire input component as a reusable React component. Then we don't need to redeclare the same thing for the passwords as well. So what I can do is basically I will create a separate component, name it as, let's say, forms, and so inside these forms we can have several components. So we can have input components, we can have radio inputs, or selectors, lines, or any other necessary stuff that is required for building a form. So for now I will just need the input component, so I will make it as input.js. So rfc, so copy the entire content like this, and yeah, that's it. So I will call that component over here, let's say input, and I don't need these stuffs anymore, so I will remove that and call the input component. See, now we have that input over here. Then if you need to declare a separate input, we can do like this, so that component will be generated automatically, right? So we don't need to define the same code again and again. But obviously this input may be different, so this must be email, so this could be password, so anything like that. So we need to distinguish these stuffs when it comes to uh, input handling. So normally we can make the email as a sort of a visible component, but usually a password must be some sort of hidden component, right? So we need to distinguish those stuffs as well. But for now I will just make it as a plain input. Then later on I will make this as a proper password authentication, or let's say password input box, right? Okay, so this is the structure, but later on I will do the necessary changes. But now let's add some sort of styling for this page. So I will make this as, let's say, font bold, and text for Excel, and let's make it as pb2, and let's make it as pb3 maybe. Okay, then let's set the width of maybe 400, right? Then we need to center this entire content. So what I can do is basically we can put the entire div inside another div and wrap it using flex, and let's say item center. Then the entire flex box must be the center, but yeah, say justify center as well. Okay, then the entire div content will be aligned to the center. So let's add sort of padding as well. So let's say pt3. Okay, so this is how our login page works, and in the next video I will show you how to make these component as well. Yeah, so thank you.